All right, man. It's the boy Blackbeard Mirage. Shout out to all the Aboriginal people of the Americas because today they have a so-called celebration that actually is acknowledging your demise. It is acknowledging the humiliation and the temporary defeat of your ancestors, and it is also celebrating the continuous subjugation of people who look like you on their own homeland. That is actually what is being celebrated today on this so-called 4th of July. So, as usual in the Midnight Mirage, the great historian himself, Blackbeard, will be clearing up some things for you people. Now, I saw in my previous tape on nationality, breaking the Deuteronomy curses, that there were certain reactions to that. All right. And I kind of have a feeling I know why. A lot of you all that hear about this, the information dealing with the Moors, because when you look at the conscious community and I know a lot of y'all probably have heard about it through Sonetter and stuff like that. That's probably you all's first time encountering somebody even use that term Moor, and that's where you came across that. And although our people have always been identified as Moors, a lot of us don't have the proper context in how we need to interface and how we need to activate being Moors. All right. A lot of the information you see Moors put out has to do with law, has to do with commerce, and it has to do with how you interact with foreigners. All right. And a lot of this information, was what was supposed to be distributed and taught to us via the Freedmen's Bureau. And a lot of the preachers and pastors in our churches are supposed to be ones that distribute that information. So you're not supposed to be going to YouTube or supposed to be going to the conscious community to learn about how to declare your nationality. Anytime reality has gotten to the point where you have to go to YouTube videos to learn how to declare your nationality, that means the game is up. And that means that you are going into another era and another space and another plane of this existence and a whole other dimension of it, because your nationality and birthrights are something that are, these are naturally given to you. So whenever you got to start fighting tooth and nail, whenever you start having to figure out something and think too hard to something that is as normal as your birthright, that's when you know that somebody has been doing a great deception on you, and somebody has been doing great manipulation on you, and somebody has been suppressing information from you, and somebody has put out agents in the community to make sure you are confused about the proper information. Now, a lot of you all have heard about the Moors, once again, through those YouTube people and the people you hear on Sonetter TV, like I said before. And that's okay if some of you all first heard about the Moors through that. It's a little different with me. I didn't hear about the Moors through something like that. I heard about the Moors through my parents, all right? And on top of that, when I learned about being a Moor, it didn't have any kind of economic benefit tied to it. See, a lot of people that are Aboriginal have been so abused for so long that we have this childlike way that we want to lash out and get revenge for what has happened to us. And I can understand that, because we have been done wrong, for a very long time by people that look like us and people that don't look like us. So I understand that. But we're going to use this tape to kind of talk about the nationality thing and the truth behind it. And we're going to talk about why you don't know how to properly declare your nationality, and why, if you never have enough people to go and do that in a uniform tongue, that the nationality thing won't really ever work for any of us. Not in the way that we want it and need it to, at least. You may get some stuff done on an individual level, but the impact you make will never be as great as it can be if you don't have the right number of people. So what I'm saying here is that, there has been a lot put in place to keep you from getting this nationality and doing this shit the right way like you're supposed to be doing. So that's what this tape is going to be about. In the previous tapes, I referenced the movie The Long Ships. A lot of people want to know, well, what is a movie on the Moors? What's a movie that I could look into the history of the Moors, where they actually are using the word Moor and, at least giving me a snapshot of how these people was living and how they was looking. This is probably one of the better examples of it you may get, although this movie does have its own flaws, because when you watch it, it's going to show, the Moors basically being viewed as these evil type people. And it's also going to show the Moors as being ignorant and naive to how to navigate through the waters, which is actually opposite, because the Moors were the original seafarer people of the planet. So Hollywood always has to put their little bias into it. But this movie goes into the harem situation a little bit, and it goes into the Moorish history that we had when we were beefing with some of the early people who became what we know of as the United States. So this movie shows you part of the reason why your nationality is so hard for you to declare, and why you will have a eternal battle as long as certain people on this planet when it comes to declaring your nationality. All right, so it's called The Long Ships, starring Sidney Poitier. Pretty good movie. We want to dedicate this tape to the brother Noble Drew Ali, because Noble Drew Ali is one of the Aboriginal people that's actually from America that we should all hold to a certain place, actually to a position of a prophet almost, because this man actually was packaged and customized just to give us a certain liberation. So we want to dedicate this to Noble Drew Ali, because the real independence is our independence from all the lies and all the trickery that has been done to us. All right. We're going to talk a little bit about, once again, proclaim the nationality, the false self-righteousness, and the lack of confidence, because a lot of us have a lack of confidence when it comes to this nationality stuff. The further you get away from your higher self, the deeper you will sink your consciousness into the abyss, or that sunken place. So that means that, the more we spend time trying to learn nationality for these mundane purposes, such as getting out of traffic stops, getting out of paying taxes, as long as we keep that kind of thinking, we're going to sink deeper into the abyss, and we're not going to get closer to getting out of this shit. All right. So this fake spirituality, this fake religiousness, and this fake self-righteousness that a lot of us have out here, this is what I refer to as a nigger. You know what I'm saying? Nigger. And you'll hear me use that term. Sometimes I'm talking about a so-called black person. Sometimes I'm talking about a so-called white person. But what you have out here is a lot of these conscious community niggers. And these people have put out a lot of disinformation, and it has people confused. One person think that they got to declare nationality by going to the courts. One person thinks that they declare nationality just by saying it and not filling out no sheet of paper. So it's like, even if people on the internet saying that they Moors, there's not even a uniform way, a homogeneous way that they deal with it. You got some people saying that you got to be part of a Moorish science temple in order to do this the right way. So it's a lot of different confusion with that, and a lot of that comes from this fake self-righteousness and this religious bullshit that a lot of us have. Like I said in the previous tape, most of them people I saw that's in those temples, although some of those temples may be good, but a lot of them are 501c3, and they getting certain tax benefits. And I'm not sure that Noble Drew Ali set it up to be that way. All right, so that's a little funny to me. And then a lot of those people worship Noble Drew Ali as if he's Jesus. You see what I'm saying? They don't view him as one of our brothers that came and did the prophet work and laid down the foundation for us to continue it. They don't look at him like that. They look at him as like he's this Jesus, and like he's going to come out of the sky and save us. He's going to rise out of the tomb of Hiram and Biff, and he's going to translate us into the New Jerusalem. So it's like they went from the Jesus mythology. Now they've created a Noble Drew Ali mythology, and I don't fuck with none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? Because that man's spirit was far beyond that. The Most High hates bullshitters. Always be the real you, otherwise you will be cursed by your higher self. Your nationality is a divine movement. So when Noble Drew Ali was talking about nationality, see, people took out the divine part. Most people just saying, oh, nationality. No, it's a divine national movement. That's what he said. The divinity and the nationality is tied together. The higher self and the lower self is tied together. Your ethnicity is attached to your lower self and your phenotype. So when I say that I'm a Moorish American, or I am an Aboriginal American of Moorish ancestry, you know what I'm saying, carrying on a Moorish bloodline, that is showing you my nationality via my lower self, because my physical body is a Moor. My higher self is beyond a Moor. My higher self is an eternal androgynous soul and spirit. And it can be anything. It's just I'm being a Moor right now in an Aboriginal copper-colored body on planet Earth. So this is part of the science that Noble Drew Ali was bringing in, and a lot of that ran right over people's head, which is very disappointing. So let's go a little bit into this nationality thing. The foreign European Christian freed and accepted Mason, Inquisitionist Christians, will never truly validate your nationality. They will never declare your nationality. You declare your nationality with your higher self. Then you will be guided on the proper steps to make in the physical. I'm going to give you an example of some of these proper steps. Changing your name, creating your own type of identification card, proclamating and declaring on public file with European corporations, aka courts, the social security offices, etc., or all of your dealings with them I went too fast. So basically, these examples of declaring your nationality. Like I said before, you have to go through the internal divine aspect of yourself to understand the higher aspect of your nationality, okay, via the higher self. Once you do that, then the higher self will give you information on what you can do in the physical world to help your nationality and to approve this situation that you've been going through. What are some of these changes you can make? You can change your name. For example, you hear a lot of the Moors talk about adding the Il, the Bey, and the Ali, or the certain noble titles to your last name. Because honestly, a lot of these European Christians, when they came here and they baptized our ancestors into Christianity, a lot of their surnames and a lot of the noble titles that were applied to their name, they were just snatched off. So that's an aspect of putting you back in your noble right. Even in the United States Constitution, it has in one of the early sections, it talks about how the United States doesn't have the power to grant noble titles. So the United States can't make you a Bey or an Il or an Ali. Only you can do that. You know what I'm saying? And if the United States agrees, they can acknowledge it, which is something they're supposed to do. But it's a lot of shit they're supposed to be doing that they haven't been doing. But they can acknowledge you by being an Il, a Bey, or an Ali. So you can change your name, okay? That's one thing you can do. You can create your own form of identification. They have a website called rvbaypublishing.com. It's another brother on YouTube. What's this brother's name? It's a brother. He makes the identification cards. I can't remember his name right now, but it's a brother who talks about the Israelites and connects them to the Moors, and he makes cards. I think his YouTube page name may be Judah's Son. I'm not sure, but it's a brother. He got some dreads. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to him. But he makes the cards. So that's another thing you can do. You can actually have your own form of identification. That's something else that you can do for your nationality. This is even stated in the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples that was signed by Barack Obama in 2010. And in there, it states all the rights that Aboriginal Indigenous people have. So everything that it says in there is what you can do to change your nationality. So one of your homework assignments is to study the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Americans. Both of these documents, which were acknowledged by Barack Obama, give you certain steps you can make to proclaim your nationality. Another thing you could do is, after you probably have made these name changes, you probably may have went to the Social Security office and did certain things. You can go to the court system and go on public file through an affidavit, all right, which is basically you stating and putting on public file that you have made certain changes and you are acknowledging who you are. So that means in the future, when something go down with you, you can say, hey, I got on public file that I have changed my name to such and such or whatever it is may be. So when you have these European agents, aka police and all these folks, they can go on file and see, well, this guy did go and change this. Now, by the court system accepting your money, by doing this name change or putting anything on file, this is them acknowledging who you are. So if you go to the court system and you change your name and you put an L or a Bey on it, and they take some money or whatever it may be to put that shit on file, that is them acknowledging that John Doe has now put the L or Bey on his name. And it is acknowledging that he is no longer a corporate person on a sheet of paper via the straw man situation. All right. All of your dealings with them regard national status and commerce and business. All right. The colorable court law system, the Inquisitionist United States corporate pseudo laws. So you got to remember that anytime you are dealing with the United States, that means that when you are going to court, when you're taking your child to school, when you're dealing with taxes, when you are going to vote, all of these things deal with commerce, business, and national status. These three things are the only ways you can deal with the United States. The United States is a foreign corporation. These are foreigners. We call them Europeans. Europe is not America. We need to start thinking. So the only way you can deal with the United States is by nationality and status and by corporations, commerce, and business. The United States is not a country. You know what I'm saying? It's a carved out jurisdiction that corporations are using. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is. Really, the United States is actually only the District of Columbia. You know. But anyway, let me continue. And as I said, you know, the colorable law system and the United States Inquisition movements and the pseudo laws, like that's really what a lot of this stuff is. If the United States is not really a nation like that, that means that all these little laws and stuff they come with, they're pseudo. They're not really. A lot of it is commerce, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of it is fines. For example, why do you think every time somebody get arrested, it's a fine associated with it? Laws are associated with commerce when it deals with the United States. That's why every time your ass get in trouble, you got to bail out of jail, and that's coughing up money, right? Don't you know that when people of other nationalities come here, that when they get in trouble, that they are actually sent to deal with their own government, and a lot of the times United States can't deal with them, you know? For example, let's take a so-called Jew. If a so-called Jew comes here and does something and gets in trouble, they may get arrested and may be held at the little jail cell for a minute. But as far as how his whole trial goes and that whole situation, a lot of those people go back to Israel to deal with their shit, or they deal with some kind of Jewish arbitrator or something like that. But in other words, the United States don't have jurisdiction over them like that. They're not citizens of the United States like that. But so-called black people have been asleep for so long, we forgot that we are not really citizens. Let me continue. The straw man birth certificate name. So that's another thing too. You know, your birth certificate name and the status that they put on there. Because them identifying you as colored, African American, black, or Negro, that's on your birth certificate. All right. Also, you can change some of these original documents that are held by the Freemasons of Britain. Because a lot of these original documents are being held by the Vatican and they're being held by the British. All right. And there are also a number of other things you can do for this as well. So, you know, if you're really going to change your nationality, it's a lot of shit you got to do. It's a lot of documents and stuff you got to fill out and do this shit the right way. Certain court systems you got to go to. And then you can't go to like the local court systems and stuff like that. Once again, if you're not a United States citizen, that means that you got to deal with them from a foreign aspect. So is there any kind of international court that we could use? Because once again, we're foreign to the United States. Even though they're on American soil, you're foreign to them. So if you're not going through any kind of international court and you show up in one of their little de facto or one of their little pseudo courts, that's already letting them know that they got jurisdiction over you and you're just an ignorant nigger. And this is why I say that a lot of us are really not ready for this nationality shit. Because even myself, why y'all think I ain't never got on these tapes and talked about what I just did to change my nationality and all that? Y'all think I ain't came across none of that information yet? That stuff is so involved and it's so intense that you need to really know what you're doing before you go out there trying to start messing with paperwork and all that stuff and putting shit on file and all that. It's like, you know, even myself with all the information I know, it's still certain things that I don't know. I'm not going to come in on this shit flexing to y'all. So what am I going to tell you about declaring your nationality when I don't fully have all the steps together myself? And one of those steps involves changing around these original documents, but a lot of these original documents are held by these freed and accepting European Masons. So are you finna run up in some lodge? You know what I'm saying? Are you finna run up in a Grand Lodge up in Washington, D.C. and take documents out and start changing it and all that stuff? Are you going to be able to get your original document from the Vatican? Your original birth certificate, not a copy of it, the original one that they are trading on Wall Street right now? So don't be so quick to say you want to change your nationality because we don't know everything that's involved with that, really. Let me continue. So there are also a number of other things you can do. And the situation involves the national, which is you, doing business with a foreigner, all right? The European Anglo-Albino Christians and their corporations. These are the foreigners. And that's it. It's not no spooky devil shit. It's not no haunted house Illuminati shit. That's all it is, all right? So let's go a little bit into the history of this shit. Lincoln was killed, and during the occult conspiracies of the 1870s in Reconstruction, an onslaught of terrorism was released on the aboriginals of the land. This is the birth of the KKK. The secret societies were financed by European albino Christians and Masons, and doctrines of white supremacy, which later would become the father ideologies that Adolf Hitler would use, were put in newspapers for poor angry, jobless, hungry European albino Anglo-Christians to read. These displeased foreigners were mad that the Aboriginal Moors, who had skills gained from prisoner of war situations, were getting jobs, even though they may have been either sharecropping or some other form of cheap labor. This population of quote-unquote whites became the KKK and other organizations that had the sole goal of terrorism on the Aboriginals and to stop them from reclaiming their proper national status. The elite of these KKK were governors, sheriffs, mayors, principals, etc. All right, hold on real quick. All right. The problem is we are thinking from a very egotistical level. People who look like you from this land and living on this soil have been properly trying to declare their nationality since the 1500s. This is what the American Revolution is/was about. Even after the Civil War, Lincoln and the other Republicans, who actually were of Moorish blood, aka black, set up certain government vehicles to allow the Aboriginal people who were called slaves or black people to go back into their original national character and to start the process of obtaining and regaining their land. But once again, a lot of these, European Freemasons through the KKK and all that kind of stuff, these people went out and caused hell. So what we were calling terrorism actually was, what we were calling racism actually was terrorism. And during the Civil War Reconstruction era, Abraham Lincoln and a few other Republicans, they set up certain vehicles like the 40 Acres and the Mule shit, the Freedmen's Bureau, a lot of things that the preachers had set up. A lot of that was to help you get your nationality back. This was during the fucking Civil War. You never got your nationality back. You've been fighting for your nationality since the 1500s. This is like what I'm telling you. And this is why I say that we think real egotistical, because we thinking that this shit just started with us. All right. So let me read a little bit into the Circle 7 Quran and what the brother Noble Drew Ali had to say about nationality. And when he said, when you reclaim your nationality, this is everything involved with it. So I'm about to read through this. And when you niggas are ready to reclaim everything that I'm about to read, that's when we can start working on getting our nationality. So listen up. Circle 7 Quran, Noble Drew Ali. The inhabitants of... Oh, this is another thing too. You're going to hear me use certain biblical terms. You got to remember that Noble Drew Ali was an occultist. So he was using these biblical stories to try to explain to you a greater reality. So you're going to hear me use terms like Canaanite, Moabite, etc. But all I'm talking about is the Aboriginal people of the planet. So listen up. The inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family were second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the dominion of Amexem, the first and true divine name of Africa. So the first thing Noble Drew Ali is telling us is that the first divine name of Africa was Amexem, but Amexem was not just Africa. It was covering a whole region area. The dividing of the land between the father and the son. The dominion of Cush, northeast and southeast Africa, and northwest and southwest, was his father's dominion of Africa. Listen very close to this part. In later years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the Pharaoh of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. They were the founders and the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire. Now, going into who your direct ancestors are, listen. With their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren, who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. Listen very close. Their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa across the great Atlantis, even unto the present North, South, and Central Americas, also New Mexico and the Atlantis Islands, before the great earthquake which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. So Noble Drew Ali just told you everything that was involved in your ancient empire prior to your ass being denationalized. He just said that their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa across great Atlantis, even unto the present North, South, and Central Americas. Don't we live in North America? Aren't people here calling themselves Moors, saying that they connected to the ancient empire? We just making some connections here. So Noble Drew Ali is telling you that the ancient empire of Amexem included Africa and it included the Americas. It's basically what he's sitting here telling you. So your nationality includes you getting back the dominions of Africa, and it includes you getting back the dominions of America. So that Moroccan Empire that you see going on in Africa right now with these Arabs is your shit. Them Arabs you see in Egypt right now that's acting like they're Islamic, that's your shit. Those Arabs you see in Spain right now, that's your shit. Those Arabs that you see are carrying on the Muslim or the Islamic culture all throughout North Africa, that is your shit. So don't talk about claiming your nationality if you're not really ready to claim all this shit back. And don't talk about claiming your nationality if you don't realize everything involved in that and what's at stake. Because I'm trying to get you to see why these people hate you so much and why your nationality is not about just some little piece of paper. Like, this shit involves land, people, and a lot of land. We talking about the whole Americas, and we talking about Africa, the whole fucking continent. This is part of your nationality. The last prophet in these days is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared divinely in due time by Allah, or the Most High, to redeem men from their sinful ways and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. Because soon the Most High is going to clean this shit up. Niggas only got so long to learn about this stuff. Come all ye Asiatics of America, talking to you, and hear the truth about your nationality and birthrights. Because you are not Negroes. Learn of your forefathers' ancient and divine creed, that you will learn to love instead of hate. We are trying to uplift fallen humanity, which is actually the Aboriginal Christ women. Come and link yourselves with the families of nations. We honor all true and divine prophets. So here, they're telling you that the Asiatics of America are Moors. So they're calling you melanated people of America Asiatics. Now you understand why Elijah Muhammad called you all Asiatics and said that the original black man was from Asia. So the Asiatic is the Moor or the American or the so-called black person, because we have been traveling around forever. We haven't always been in one spot. You know what I'm saying? We haven't always been in one spot. It also says that hear the truth about your nationality and birthright. So I just gave you the truth about your nationality and birthright. Your nationality and birthright comes from the dominions of Cush and Ham, the dominions of Africa, all right? You are from the line of the ancient Canaanites, the ancient Moabites, the ancient Hittites, the ancient Amorites, these people you hear in the Bible. And these people were the ancestors or the founders of the Moroccan Empire. So that red flag with that green star, that is your shit. That is the American Empire flag. That's the Moroccan Empire flag. And if you wave that, motherfuckers would actually know why if they're smart. So people walking around with that red, white, and blue on, that is not the American flag. That is the corporate commerce flag that these European Freemasons are using to do business here. That is not the empire flag, though. The empire flag is that red flag with the green star that you see the Moroccan Empire using. Those Arabs that you see in Morocco today are not the original Moroccans. Those are an amalgamated people between Europeans and the Moors. All Arab people are. And they just perpetuate our culture because they speak Arabic? Don't they practice Islam? Don't they dress like so-called Muslims? Because that was your culture before you was hit in the head and converted into a Christian. Before you lost your nationality. How many of you are trying to claim your nationality but didn't even know that the Islamic mystery system and the Egyptian mystery system is part of your inheritance? How many of you all knew that? You got a lot of these Moors in the so-called Moor Science Temple. They don't even deal with the occult and they deal with the esoteric. So how many of y'all really knew that? How many of y'all trying to reclaim back Egypt? None of you are. You just want to get some money back so you can get out of a fucking traffic stop and you can get a fucking a tax exempt receipt. You niggas are fucking petty. And that's why you want your nationality back. Not to activate the higher self and free the Aboriginal people of the planet. That's not why you want it back. You want it back for some mundane ass reasons. And the Most High sees all this shit. And the Most High told me to tell you niggas this shit. So the Most High sees all this shit. So here's my little, warning. I'm gonna wrap it up, man. You people need to get out of this economic and financial come-up business. Wanting to pimp your nationality. You're whoring out your nationality. You're doing the same thing that these Europeans are doing. The moral of the story is this. The Aboriginal Moors, the Moorish Americans, the Autochtons, you are the nationals. These Europeans you see here, these albinos, whether they French, German, etc., they are foreigners. Anytime you do business with the United States via court or any of those types of things, that is commerce and national status oriented. Your nationality includes the lands of Africa and the lands of America. And it includes the resources and the gold attached to Africa and attached to America. So until we're ready to fight, until we're ready to come together and reclaim all of that, I ain't trying to hear shit about no nationality. I don't give a fuck about no low card. I don't give a fuck about changing no name. All that stuff is cool for your individual life. But once you go into your higher self, you stop thinking from that egotistical point of view. See, when I declare my nationality, I picture a fucking whole room of Moors running in a courtroom telling them to do some shit. Because, see, when you go in that courtroom, you got to remember it's you versus an army of Masons, European Christian Masons that are ready to lie to you. So the nationality thing, to me, if we could get it to where it's a lot of people that want to go in there and do it, I think that could be more effective. You still can get some stuff done on your individual, don't get me wrong. But to make some real noise, you need a lot of people. And that's why in that Jay-Z song said, we don't believe you, you need more people. That's why he said that. You can say you are more all you want, but until you got enough people behind you saying it with you, how are you going to expect somebody to really move and budge? And these European Christians have set this shit up so much. It's so many COINTEL people in the conscious community. It's so many COINTEL people in the church. It's so many COINTEL people in the court system that you're going to have to deal with a lot of fuckery when it comes to this nationality. So my advice to you would be to go through your higher self and let your higher self guide you on what to do. You know what I'm saying? And another step you can do is start changing up your attire. You know what I'm saying? Get you a fez, get you some turbans. Start dressing different. Start activating a different aspect of your own inner self. You know, start looking like your ancestors. You know what I'm saying? That's also part of it. So the nationality thing, it has a lot involved. It's a divine national movement. And it's a whole lot more than just some white man signing some paper and saying, yeah, you are more. So we need to get out of that mindset because that's very egotistical and it's very parasitic. And the Most High sees all that. You got to remember, Allah is the arm, leg, arm, head, the great spirit that manifested us. So until we're ready to get back the dominions of Africa and the dominions of America, we ain't ready to get our nationality back. That's why that shirt in front of you says what? It says New World Order. A New World Order is real Moors getting their nationality back the real way. So until y'all ready for the real New World Order, I'll just keep on doing my thing personally. But it's the Midnight Mirage. Stay tuned. I'm out.